Another project already? I haven't even finished this one yet, I grumbled. Be grateful you have work. Multitasking is a hallmark of professionalism, the section chief replied curtly as he walked away from my desk. I'm Ryan, a software engineer in my third year with the company. My job often demands that I stay late, no matter how quickly I complete my tasks. The problem lies with our manager, who takes on more than he can handle. He doesn't monitor our schedules or progress, which results in an overwhelming workload. The only time I recall leaving on time was a couple of years ago when our manager was on a business trip. I decided to join some coworkers at a bowling alley. There we met a group of women in the next lane, and we ended up going to a bar together. That's where I met Ava, my future wife. Ava and I married about a year after we met. My job remained as hectic as ever, with constant overtime. Still, on weekends, Ava and I made time for movies, dinners, and shopping trips. Recently, Ava had been struggling with persistent lower back and abdominal pain. She tried various treatments, massages, chiropractic care, and osteopathy, but nothing provided relief. One night, her pain intensified, and it became clear something was seriously wrong. I called an ambulance, and we rushed to the ER in the middle of the night. I initially thought it might be appendicitis, but the ER doctor, an internal medicine specialist, looked concerned and said, Ava, you need to see a gynecologist immediately. A gynecological issue? I asked, my voice trembling. She's been wanting kids. Is she going to be okay? Panic set in as I struggled to grasp the situation. All I wanted was for Ava to get better. The next day, I took time off work to take her to a prestigious hospital's gynecology department. The diagnosis was devastating. Ava had advanced uterine cancer that had spread to her colon. I was overwhelmed with guilt. She had been experiencing back pain for about 6 months. Why haven't I insisted on seeing a doctor sooner? If it had been caught earlier, surgery might have been an option. The prognosis was bleak. She had only 3 months to live. I immediately spoke with my supervisor and department head, explaining my situation and requesting flexibility to leave work on time as much as possible. I also reached out to my team, asking for their understanding and support. My colleagues were incredibly compassionate. The next 3 months, leading up to Ava's passing, felt like a blur. I was in a state of disbelief, as if I were living in a surreal nightmare. After her funeral, I found myself unable to face the memories or find motivation for anything. I didn't want to return to work, but feeling a sense of obligation to my supportive colleagues, I went back after 2 weeks. That afternoon, I was summoned to the conference room. Both the department head and manager were there, their expressions grave. Ryan, we understand you've had a difficult time, but our work situation is also challenging. Leaving on time for 3 months and then taking 2 weeks off? That's not acceptable, the section chief said, his tone thick with sarcasm. I apologize for any inconvenience, I replied, though I couldn't help but feel that my absence hadn't really affected the director, who was detached from the day-to-day operations of the computer program. Then the manager added, if you don't want to be in a busy department, we have an opening in our Iowa office. You'll start there next week. I recalled a conversation with a colleague, possibly Mike, who had mentioned that taking consecutive days off or refusing overtime could lead to being reassigned to a less desirable position. With Ava gone and a deep emptiness inside me, I no longer cared about where I worked. My job had become so insignificant in the face of my grief that it no longer mattered. Feeling utterly defeated and devoid of motivation, I simply sat there, nodded, and returned to my seat. Some time later, I moved to a quiet rural town. Demoted at such a young age, huh? I muttered to myself as I gazed at the sprawling landscape. Before I knew it, a week had passed since my transfer. The new company, for better or worse, provided a lot of free time and hardly any need for overtime. I was able to work at my own pace. One day, I decided to code a simple program at a local coffee shop to break up the monotony. As I worked, I noticed droplets starting to fall on the table. It was raining outside, and for a moment, I thought the roof might be leaking. Looking up, I saw a girl with brown hair streaked with red and blue, dressed in a rebellious style, staring intently at my laptop. Concerned about the water potentially damaging my laptop, I began to shut it down. The girl quickly interrupted. Wait. Hey, mister, you work with computers, right? Can I take a look? I'm kind of interested. Well, yeah, but you should dry up first. I don't want you catching a cold, I replied, then called the staff. Excuse me, could we get a towel for this young lady? As she dried herself with the towel provided by the staff, she thanked me. Thanks for the towel, sir. Despite her edgy appearance, she was polite, which pleasantly surprised me. We continued chatting over warm coffee. Her name was Catherine, and she was a senior at a nearby public high school, just starting her final year. She expressed uncertainty about her future, saying, I'm not really academic, so college isn't really an option for me, but I want to find the right job. Catherine had tried various part-time jobs, factory work, cashiering at a grocery store, and fast food, but none of them felt right. I thought about how integral computers had become in today's world. Although she didn't own a computer, she had developed an interest after some school lessons. If she wanted to broaden her job options, learning about computers could be crucial. I told Catherine I'd be working at the coffee shop for the rest of the week, so if she needed anything, she was welcome to stop by. The next 2 days, she showed up regularly. When she asked for my name and I told her, she started calling me Mr. Smith. What's all that stuff you're doing on your computer, Mr. Smith? All those letters and symbols, it looks like some kind of magic, she asked. Her curiosity piqued. Of this? It's called programming. It's used to create websites and blogs, I explained. I described how websites are built using various characters and symbols, and she became quite fascinated. Do you have a computer at home? I asked. She shook her head. Eager to learn, Catherine began diligently copying the contents of my screen into her notebook. After about a month of this, I decided to make a proposal. You'd learn faster if you had a computer of your own to practice on. We've got an old laptop at the office that we were planning to discard. Would you like to use it for studying? Her eyes lit up with excitement. Really, Mr. Smith? I can have it. Yeah, it's old and not the best, but it's better than nothing, I said. That's amazing. Just having one is fantastic. A few days later, when I handed Catherine the laptop, she couldn't contain her joy. She jumped up and down, exclaiming, Yay! Starting the very next day, Catherine came armed with a barrage of questions. She was incredibly diligent, buying books to study and filling a notebook with questions she wanted to go over. Her hard work paid off, and within 6 months, she had successfully launched a small website. Hey, I can use this as a reference for job hunting, she said, her face beaming with pride as she prepared for upcoming interviews. Catherine had also dyed her hair jet black. Catherine, you look so professional, I remarked. Just for now. Once I land a job, I'll go back to my usual style, she said, flashing a bashful smile and a slight pout. Good luck with your interviews. Thanks, Ryan, she replied, giving me a peace sign and a wide grin. 2 weeks later, while I was at the coffee shop, Catherine burst in, brimming with excitement. Ryan, guess what? I got a job offer, she announced, her face lighting up with joy as if a flower had blossomed. That's fantastic. Congratulations, I said, genuinely thrilled for her. To my surprise, Catherine started crying, though she kept that radiant smile. Ryan, thank you. Getting into my first choice company is all thanks to you. I really appreciate it. Seeing her emotional response brought a warmth to my heart. Catherine, with her quirky charm, had slowly filled the void left by Ava. I found myself spending more time helping Catherine study than dwelling on memories of Ava. No, Catherine, I'm the one who should be thanking you. How about we go out for dinner next Sunday to celebrate? That sounds great, she replied cheerfully. And just like that, it was April. At the morning meeting, an HR representative greeted everyone. Today, we'll introduce the new employees who will be joining us this year. All right, everyone, please come forward. The HR personnel called. As the new hires stepped up, I almost dropped the documents I was holding. Among the new recruits were 2 men and 1 woman. The sole female employee was Catherine. As our eyes met, she discreetly flashed me a peace sign with her right hand. It was clear that Catherine had joined the IT department I was part of. Good morning, I said, still in shock. You surprised me. I thought you'd start at the company after you got your job offer. I was planning to check in and see how you were doing once you settled in. I was a bit worried. She giggled. Haha, be prepared to work hard, okay? Please go easy on me, Catherine said with a playful grin, sticking her tongue out. Each time I saw that smile, it warmed my heart. Although I wasn't entirely sure if I had romantic feelings for Catherine, given that she was 7 years younger. One thing was clear: she was a special presence in my life. On the morning of the new fiscal year, seeing her face was a surprise, but it also gave me a renewed sense of purpose to help this talented young woman grow into a skilled programmer. My life, which had become a monotonous routine, now felt filled with purpose. When I got home that night, I looked at a photograph of Ava and spoke to her. Since you left, I felt like an empty shell. I'm sure you must have been worried about me, but after moving to this countryside town and meeting Catherine and teaching her about computers almost daily, I've been able to distract myself from my sorrow. I wonder if you're watching over us and feeling a bit jealous. I'll do my best to be a reliable mentor, so please keep watching over me. I promise to move forward with purpose so that you can rest easy. With that, I made a silent promise to Ava's photograph. Her gentle smile seemed to convey a sense of approval, as if she were saying, "That's right, I'm cheering for you." That's the feeling I was left with.